find me in the spot where the floppies be. Till I give it a read, keep it crisp in the sleeve. Every Tuesday night feels like Christmas Eve. Living between Wednesdays.
What's up, folks? I'm your host, Konrad, and today I'm joined by Corissa Grant, and we're going to talk about their new book, Worthy Chaos Redemption. Corissa, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to have you on. My same easy question I like to ask everybody, which is simply for the folks out there on YouTube land who've maybe never seen your face, never heard your name, who is Corissa Grant?
So I have, I'm actually started writing 17 years ago as a role player. And I role played, well, I'm dyslexic, so I started as one-liners. And over 4 years, I built up to para, and over the last 2 years, the most, I've been doing like 6,000 word replies. So a little better than I used to do. But I wrote this story with my co-writer that I RP'd with, and we wrote for fun 11 novels together in 2 years. Long novels, like 90,000 to 133,000 words each. We got a little carried away. just a little bit.
Okay.
We just role played and we just kept writing, and our replies are really long. And when it's two stories that there's 3 stories, but this series 1, Redemption, is 5 of those novels. So it's already written, and it comes out to be like 40 issues or so. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned RP roleplay. Did this stem from like Dungeons and Dragons, the super popular game right now, or some system similar?
It started from Resident Evil 2.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, I watched Funny story, I saw a commercial for Resident Evil 2 where the crocodile comes out of the sewer to get Leon. I didn't even own a PlayStation. I begged my parents for whatever holidays coming up to do it now. We went and bought PlayStation 1. We rented the game. It had no instructions, and I could not get Leon to move out of the fire. So I threw the controller, really upset about it. My older brother comes in, picks it up, starts playing. I get all pissed off, kick him out. And then I played for like 8 hours straight. Went out, bought that game. And I bought that game in Final Fantasy VII, and then I just kept playing. And then I was mad because Resident Evil 2 has auto aim, and I didn't know that for the whole game. But yeah, I fell in love with it. I saw the movie Stay Alive, and I was researching Elizabeth Bathory because I always look up the true facts of horror movies. And they were it's going to age me, but they were role playing on MySpace. And I said, "How is this legal? Aren't they like it's characters and face?" She's like, "No, just pick a character you want to be and play." And I looked around my room, and I had a huge cutout of Leon from Resident Evil 4, and I was like, "I want to be Claire." So I went and I RP'd Claire for 15 years before I started this role, and I was very popular because I'd been around for so long. But yeah, that was pretty much what got me into it. And my book 3, which is issues 15 through like 26 or so, it's all Resident Evil 2, is all zombies. They're in an infested city. So I can't wait to get to. They're all good. I love all my stories, but 3 was the main focus when I first started writing, was to get 3 written, and then the rest just kind of spawned out of it. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to all the zombies at all times. So.
That is so cool. Okay, so I mean, clearly you've got tons of writing ready to go. I'm assuming when you started writing this, then it didn't start off as a proper comic book script, but instead, like you said, it was call and response style, sort of a big block of text, which could have gone into many different mediums. Yeah.
When we originally wrote it, so I started it. It was my story, and I actually begged her to take the role. And my first starter was 4,000 words, and it was pretty much the beginning issue 1. And yeah, that's why we couldn't really release it. Like, we had an editor, and we were like, "Would anyone read this?" Because of the way it was written. And she's like, "You have to merge the 2." And we refused to do that. Like, we did not want to ruin the story or take anything out. So we actually decided not to release it, and we were just going to print it for ourselves. So I said, all right, listen, lulus.com has you could print one story. I was like, I'm going to find an artist. I'm going to make us a personal cover with our characters and we'll just read it ourselves. So I was looking up the artist and I told her, I was like, these are all so cartoony. Like, don't you want something realistic? And she's like, no, cartoony's fine. And then a light bulb went off and I was like, oh, wait, you don't mind cartoony? How about a comic book? And she's like, I would do a comic book. And then I literally jumped out that day and hired an artist. And then I was home at night in bed and I wrote to her and I was like, I have no idea how to do a script. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. She's like, you'll figure it out. So the next day I YouTubed it and I was watching videos. I was like, I got this. And I wrote one long script for issue 1. And the letter was like, would you like to see any of the art or just dialogue? And I was like, oh, right. That makes sense. So my first script wound up being 2. and so I was all set for the first 2 issues. And then I tweaked it as I went. But yeah, I learned a lot from the dialogue is completely different from, I mean, when you're writing, there's 2 things that I've noticed when you're writing a novel form to writing a script is when you're writing a novel form, it does not matter what's in the room. You just grab whatever you want. But when I'm writing a script, I'm like 4 pages in, I was like, forgot to put the knife on the table. So like I have to go back with the knife on the table. So it's like all these little, she grabs this out of his pocket. She's got to have it over here or she's, something. So that was killer. But the dialogue, man, you write whatever you want and not, but when you move it over, you're like, what's important? What's not important? What drags on? What's repeated 5,000 times in the story? So I would say dialogue was the biggest challenge from going from novel to or novel-esque to this. But it's so cool to see your characters do what you want them to do. Like I just love seeing it come to life. I mean, it's expensive, and my fun hobby is 5 times more than the business that I run that pays for it. But man, just seeing it is so freaking rewarding. I just love it.
It's one of the things that continually, whenever I've gotten to speak with creators, just like yourself, doing their Kickstarters, whether it's their first comic or their second graphic novel, I always like to find out, okay, how does it feel to actually like get that first page? And it's always like amazing, ecstatic, like it's crazy to have something that's from here and I'm holding it now. So I guess specifically then, as we've mentioned, so Worthy Chaos is inspired by, in no small way, Resident Evil, and sort of just the fun you got to have, role-playing with your friends and shooting stories back and forth. When it actually came down time to take that monstrous script, strip out a fair chunk of dialogue, I imagine, or extend the panel length of scenes, how did you go about deciding what got cut, what didn't, what got morphed and changed to fit?
It was not easy because I was like, how badly do I want to see this drawn out? Like what do I want to see drawn out? That was the biggest thing. And so it wasn't easy, but I was kind of like, I can go without this scene or they weren't together in this scene, so it doesn't matter. And usually when we RP, sometimes we would split up. So sometimes I would do both, in the script, but generally I'm picking which one's my favorite. Like you didn't really need to see what she did. Like I just finished, I have scripts written to right now converted to issue 16, but I'm going over 7. I was like, no, 6. I was like, she goes around the vampire to does her thing. And I was like, you don't need to see that as bad as you need to see him getting his ass kicked over here. So we'll watch this and you could just guess what she does over there. But then there was like later in the issue, I had his thing going on upstairs and he could hear what's going downstairs. And then I would put 30 minutes later so you could see how she was creating all that noise. So I did both.
Nice.
But it is difficult. The hardest part, and I'm glad we did it, and I thought nothing of it, but we have a lot of thought bubbles because most of our story was them thinking of the other person. Yeah. So we added thought bubbles, and I never thought that it would be like old school. I mean, I didn't think anything. And then everyone's like, oh, you brought back thought bubbles. And like everyone loved it, but one person, they were like, oh, that's so retro. Don't use those. I was like, that's my whole story. But I love it because I like getting in the character's head. And I love watching movies, but then I read the book because I want to know what they were thinking when they were doing that. So I get to have both here, especially Draven, he's a demon descendant. So kind of like he doesn't talk as much as her. He's like just says sarcastic things, but he's like thinking of all these things about her, what's going on. So it's kind of cool to see that rival going on in his head, like what he should do or not do, or how he feels about her, but how he shouldn't feel about her. And it just goes back and forth. So it was not easy, but I have to be honest, I didn't cut that much out. That's why it's like 45. I didn't cut out as much as I probably should have. I know I cut one whole thing where I'm like, I saved it for later. I was like, we'll use it some other time. But I didn't cut out probably as much as I should. I wanted to see it. I wanted to see it all, you know? So yeah, I just extended the issues pretty much. So
nothing wrong with that. Like one thing, Corissa, that I liked about, I guess, well, the issues you've given me, so that I could do what I do and prep for this. When I went through them, I think one of my favorite things, and the reason, sort of, I equate it a little bit to be inspired by Resident Evil is, in one of the earliest scenes where Carissa's having, not Corissa, you're Corissa.
Serafina, yeah.
Serafina, one of our protagonists, is having a dream that this person's attacking her. Yep. She sprints away from him in front of a fish tank, and he goes after her. And the way it's drawn, maybe your artists noticed the inspiration, or maybe you just told them, but the way it's drawn, it literally looks like she's controlled in that old school tank format.
Yeah.
And it plays out, and it struck me, it was like, this feels Resident Evil. Mm-hmm. And like a little bit later on in that first issue, when people are Draven and Serafina go down an alley, or actually no, she goes down an alley, and on the other end she bumps into him, but as she's going down this alley and it's all brick, like ghouls and a werewolf's head pop out of a wall and come and get her. Yeah, the Hellhound, and she bolts, and then she bumps into Draven. Yeah. Just the angles that either yourself intentionally or maybe your artist is rendering it, but the angles shown in the panel, they feel like those uncomfortable, controlled angles of Resident Evil's early days, where the camera was just stationary. So it has this like great, I guess, mid-90s video game vibe to it. So easy question, and then I want to get into the details about the campaign, but for how it's written and how the panels are executed, how much of that did you actually have to go in and be like, hey, draw this like this, I want these angles? Or did your artist pick up on it? Like, because it feels the way it should feel.
I wrote it all out exactly how I pictured it in my head. And I don't know if you noticed, you have to go back and look. So every one of my issues has an Easter egg in it. And the very first Easter egg is in that page of her walking, and it is the crocodile in the sewer. It's by his feet, if you go back and look. And every issue has one. Like there's the typewriter that you save on Resident Evil is in, I think, the second issue. And it's not just Resident Evil. There's a lot of horror movies, like there's Nightmare on Elm Street, which is one of the first movies I ever seen. There's the Easter egg there. There's a Buffy the Vampire Slayer in one of the issues. There's a Hellraiser in one of the issues. So there's all these things in the background. It's actually a contest when I released the graphic novel in one, like issue one. It's 7 issues, so it's like 230 pages. That's coming out on Halloween. There's gonna be a contest that whoever posts all of the pages that they're on will get like a prize that we release.
Oh, so, that's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, they all have it. And I think in book 2, I think we have like a Saw reference, and we have like some other horror movies in there. It was so fun to not only figure it out, but then to figure out how to do it where I won't get a licensing issue. Like, how do I change it just enough? That would be like, because they were in it. So in issue 1, it's kind of like Silent Hill because they get trapped.
Yeah.
In the town, and so I wanted to put the radio in there, but then I was like, how much in trouble would I get? I mean, you never know. So I'll put the radio somewhere else. I'm gonna have the Resident Evil plant somewhere else, and so. Keep an eye. Yeah, my brother's all upset because he wanted to win, and I was like, "You don't play Resident Evil, so you can't win. You have to play Resident Evil." So it's for only the people that specifically have seen horror movies and Resident Evil that'll get it. So
I love it. That's so cool. So important thing, I do want to cover this because we're having a blast, and I have a feeling we'll continue that. But so for the folks out there listening who, between seeing the posters behind you, hearing what we've talked about Worthy Chaos Redemption, if they want, if they're done, they're ready, they're just like, give me the link, shut up and take my money. For the link down below, your campaign, what I like to ask is, what is the minimum tier for someone to get the book? Because it is the third book. Fourth book?
Fourth book, third campaign.
Okay. So because it's the fourth book, what would the minimum tier be for all 4 books, whether digital or physical? And then what's like one of your bigger tiers, and what kind of weird stuff can people get in it?
Oh man, weird stuff. You have no idea. I have been called the merch queen because I love merch. And when I offer it to other people, it is now tax deductible for me. So best hobby ever. But yeah, so the minimal tier is 5 for the PDF. If you want
Nice.
4 or 1, you can offer. And every back issue, including PDFs, are add-ons too, so you can like add on whatever you want. All PDFs, the $5 ones, come in black and white and color. You get both.
Oh, cool. Okay.
You get all 4 PDFs, it's $15, and to get all 4 PDFs shipped, it was $40. But we've also bypassed 4 stretch goals. So just buying a $5 PDF, you get 16 PDF number 1s from other issues downloads, and they're all amazing issues, like all in the genre, all that. You also get it's going to be redone eventually, but for now it's a PDF of the first time they met. So it's our prequel number 1.
Oh, okay.
So you get to see how they met. Physical tiers get a glossy bookmark of the Anubis fighting the demon.
Very cool.
And I think we just passed the 4th goal, which was our DC Batman artist did our variant cover.
We get to see it.
And it's a glossy card. So yeah, so you get the glossy trading card for his. He's amazing. That's Kent Hunt. He's doing our graphic novel cover too. And I don't know how well you know comic books, but the colorist that did it, the actual cover. This is the metal print of it. It's the current interior colorist for Lady Death Universe.
Oh, cool.
Dela Cruz. She's amazing. She's super, super nice. And then, so for $5, you pretty much get like, let's see, 19 PDF plus all the other stuff. So yeah, but everything is, all the tiers are on the add-ons, except for like the bigger things. So our biggest tiers are gone. They were large statues of Anubis.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So there's there's one more statue available, 2 more statues. There's one of Seraphina and Draven together. It's a bust. It's like a pound of clay. And then there's a chibi version of Anubis that's 8 inches, and he's adorable. So that's still available. I think there's 2 plushies left. 1 plushie is bought of Anubis. And I think there's 1 left. And then we have a couple of plushies in the add-ons. We love plushies, but yeah, so those are the craziest tiers. But we have the metal print I showed you. We have a wooden print. If you could see it, it's there's a video that shows better on the Kickstarter, but it's laser etched into the wood. Awesome. We have metal bookmarks. We have pillows of Anubis, 3 different versions. And hoodies, t-shirts, all that stuff.
Wow.
So there's buttons, stickers, prints. There's a ton of stuff in there. So yeah, there's something for everybody in there. Yeah.
That's amazing. You really are the merch queen. That's amazing.
Yeah, I can't. I'm just too obsessed with my own story. I just can't help it. So, but yeah.
You know what though? The passion is amazing, and clearly, like you're doing very well in the campaign. So people love it. So keep on doing it.
Well, I've only been doing it for 6 months, so I'm still learning. But my artist is amazing, Jonas DaCosta. This is his first job, by the way, his first paid job. Yeah.
Whoa.
And I didn't even want to hire him. That sounds awful. But he had been doing before me, like realistic portraits. So I was like, I don't want realistic. Especially after we decided we didn't want realistic. So at that point, I mean, I spent thousands trying to find an artist because we're super picky, and I had this vision of my characters in my head, and it was driving me crazy. And I finally posted my story on like Reddit and Facebook, and I said, if anyone wants to hand in a free page, a test page, I'll pay you for it if I take it, and blah, blah. So I had 5 people working on pages for me for free. And then he came along and he's like, are you taking any, submissions? And I said, I'll make you a deal. If you want to give me a free page, I will look at it now. If you want to wait after I look at these 5, if I don't accept one, I'll pay you for a page. He's like, nope, I'll hand in a free one. He handed it in. I was like, you're hired. Like, I just paid off the one, told him to go away, and I was like, he's hired. And I mean, it was just spot on. Like, he even lettered it. Like, I gave him a page of the script.
Oh, wow.
And he lettered it. It was just, the characters looked perfect. It was phenomenal. The only thing I did was I did pay him for it, but then I had him split it because I'm like, let's do make it more pan. Because I had put as much as I could on the page so I could see more.
Okay.
Let's make this 2 pages. So he actually did redo it. And you could tell how his progression is. I mean, his art, I even had someone say, not that his art was bad before, but someone said, is this the same artist? And I didn't know if they meant in a good way or a bad way, so I didn't know how to answer that. I'm like, why? And they're like, it looks so amazing. I was like, it's the same guy. He's just getting better and, get better and better. So we're kind of growing together. And he's not just someone I hire. I mean, he's part of the team. He loves the story. He gets so engrossed in it. And he's like, are they going to be okay? I'm like, it's 40 issues. They'll live. They'll come back, either or. But I'm like, yeah, they'll be fine. But he gets really into it. And he went away for a month. And 2 weeks in, he's like, I really missed the story. I can't wait to get back. And I was like, enjoy your vacation because you're killing us. We're having withdrawals from pages. But he kept counting down the days. A week to go until I can try. Well, he's into it as much as we are. So it definitely helps. And he promises, crossing fingers, that he will stay around for, the whole series and hopefully do that. Though I do have, I don't know if you know who Ian Chase Nichols is, but he worked on the Tick and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He actually did our variant in issue 2, which is phenomenal.
That's cool.
He wants to do a spinoff, like the whole thing. And I was like, I'm not against this idea. So we're going to talk about it in a couple months. The only tricky part is he's hand-drawn, and I refuse to let anyone keep the original. So we have to work out a price for that. His page price is acceptable, but how much? He knows I won't sell it. So he's like, I wouldn't charge you that much because I know I would never sell it because I'm just way too obsessed with my characters. But hopefully he'll be able to work on that, and then we'll see how because his art is so amazing. I mean, it's so old school and retro. Yes. I just love it. And he's also the nicest guy too. Super modest. Like he sent me a rough draft of this, and I would have taken that. Like I was like that. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And I was like, you're going to have to do at least 2 covers in each story. And he's working on issue 6 now. He's doing of the vampires. But he's like, let's see if you like it first before you order. I was like, I would pay you now for like the rest of the books to do. I was like, I love the work. So yeah, I like to rotate the artist and keep them on because I know they're good. So like I have a bunch that come in and I get asked every day and some people, I mean, you can charge whatever you want, but some people charge more than like these DC artists, and like one was going to charge me $1,200. I was like, I don't even know who you are. It was like, no.
For a page?
Yeah, for a cover. And I was just like, I mean, you must be getting it. So you must be good. But it's just, to me, I'd rather hire someone I know and someone that I say he worked on Batman and he worked on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and, but I mean, more power to them if they're getting it. I just can't afford it.
No, you know what? That's sort of the balancing act I think a lot of indie creators go through that a lot of people don't understand about comics. So first blanket statement here. This easily I can make this generalization. Pay your artists.
Yeah.
That stuff is not easy to do. There's a reason you're searching for an artist. Art is an extremely difficult thing to do. That's why so many of us can't do it. Yeah. So the ones that can hack it, actually practice and put in the work and draw, whatever their rate is, frankly, they're probably worth it. But at the same time, like you said, Corissa, that's where you've got like, are you familiar with their work? Are you familiar with them? And also, can you afford them? Because that's you got to make the project work.
That's like half a book for me, so it's kind of tough.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough. I mean, again, they're probably worth it. It's just I know that I know them, and I get the original. And these are like digital artists. You don't really get anything after, and I'm like their work's amazing. It's just to me, I just cannot shell out that much, for a cover. But at least they get to ask. I mean, like I said, they must be getting it. So more power to them, and the skill that these people have are just phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I searched 8 months, 6 months, 8 months just to find my artist. So I know how hard it is. I mean, I even got some that were like, like I had this one guy who did like D&D style, and I wanted it to work so bad, but he just made Draven look, not the way. I mean, it was a good skilled, but it just wasn't our Draven.
It wasn't your style that you were after. Yeah.
And this guy came out of nowhere, read my story, sent me five or six pages from the story, not from a script. And they were
the done product.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. And he wanted to do the entire story for free. And again, his skill was, I mean, he made the characters, and she looked just like Claire. So I was like, I kind of really want this. But Draven looked nothing like it. And he sent like 10 facial shots of the guy. And I was like, these are so adorable. And he looks so cute, but he doesn't look like Draven. And I was also uncomfortable with the not paying thing. Because I didn't know how much it was going to make. And I mean, you want to share in the profit, but I don't know if it's going to make it. I can't have this guy make like a whole, and plus you don't know how long it's going to take off. And with my artist, once we start bringing in profit, like he's going to get paid. And then whatever profit we have, I'm going to split it 3 ways with him and my co-writer, because that's kind of like, he's part of the team. So, I mean, he knows that the more I make, the more he makes. And it kind of makes them more invested in staying and
exactly.
So, I like that he was going to do it, but also if he got another paid job, he'd probably back out, and it made me very nervous, but it was phenomenal. And it was so cute, like so skilled. I was so upset that I didn't want it. Like I was so upset about it, but now I love my artist, and he's way better and spot on. I mean, he's just so perfect the way he draws them, and so consistent. It's very consistent how he draws their facial features and everything. And there's only one time where I'm like, what happened here? And he's like, I don't know. And he redid it. But it was like, we had one cursed page. He usually just hands me 2 pages. We say, great job. I love it. This might need tweaking, whatever. But usually it's nothing. 1 page in issue 1, 10 times it had to go back. Like,
oh my God.
Something. And I'm like this, and it was the page where, most important page in my mind, where she's about to get hit by a car and he's inside calling her. That was the page. Like it just kept having to be, something was always off. It was driving us both crazy. I was like, what is with this page? But yeah, it worked out so well, and I'm very lucky. I mean, he's got great speed. He's almost too fast. Like I love it, my wallet doesn't, but it's like I'm so torn because I'm instant gratification. I'm like, give me more. So it's a tough call.
And I am sure he'd be happy to. You know what? We've done a great job of talking about the different tiers, how people can get the book, sort of the inspiration of it, the art. Thankfully, you've got the banners behind you so we can actually see what it looks like. Can you describe for us basically who Sarah or Seraphina and Draven are, and what the hell is going on with Dark Lake?
So, okay. Now, Seraphina is an angel descendant, and Draven is a demon descendant. She was created from an angelic weapon that her father, an angel, used to use to carry souls from heaven to heaven from hell and from Earth. And I did a lot of research on all the demons and angels, their personalities we created, but their jobs and duties and all that were from scripture or whatever. So Remno really is an angel with the power of lightning, used the sword, and he was the judgment of souls. So, and that's kind of what started it all, because in my mind I was like, what does this guy carry these souls in a pocket? Like, it just bugged me.
And that's Seraphina's father.
Yeah. So she was created from that weapon, and Draven's father is a chaos demon, a high powerful demon who used to take the souls from Judgment Bridge and devour them. That was what he did. So he wanted this weapon that has the power of souls. Well, since Seraphina was made from it, he wound up centuries ago, killing her, trying to get it, and all she did was get reincarnated. So he created Draven to go after it, and he fell in love with her. So they were destined to be, So there was an unwritten prophecy that was when an angel and a demon fall in love, they have to be kept together, or hell on earth would start. So if they're separated, a war will start. Well, her father faked the prophecy, got their guardian angel, which is Camille, which you would have seen in issue 1.
Very fancy dressed. I like him.
You like him? I made that. I don't know why I picked that, but it just suited him so. And his hat actually does have a purpose. And he's very dapper. But in scripture, he is the angel of true love and conflict resolution, which of course have to go together. So he was their guardian angel, and to save the prophecy, he was to protect them. Well, he got tricked, betrayed them, and so in the last life, they got separated, and all hell broke loose. So now there's, the angels tried to get this weapon from her, but because they separated her, it wouldn't activate. So they found out they had to put them together. So they reincarnated them, and they came on Earth, and they found each other. And then, as you saw in issue 1, they get separated. So, and for anyone that doesn't know, in issue 1, they thought each one was dead. The other one was dead. So they got tricked. And for those 10 years, they were separated. She trained as a supernatural hunter, and he trained as an assassin. And when he moved closer to her, their souls kind of reunited, and it sent out this alert to angels and demons. And so they tricked them into getting caught in this one town. Well, they tricked her to go there. So now in this town, the demons merged it with hell, so they couldn't leave, and they're trying to get this angelic weapon. And the only way to there's 2 ways to activate it. They don't tell you what one of them is, but one of them is to kill her in a ritualistic factor and using her soul to activate it. So, So the main story for them is Draven is pretty much trying to keep her alive. And obviously she tries to keep him alive while he's trying to keep her alive. But to tell you what the title is about, she always feels like a burden because of this. I mean, even though they're teenagers, he would always get hurt or in trouble or whatever, trying to protect her. And she would always feel bad about it. And he would always say, "You're worth it." So she's the worthy chaos. She's very chaotic, and he thinks it's worth it, whereas she does not think it's worth it. But yeah, so the whole thing is their fathers are trying to get this weapon from them, and they're kind of manipulating them. And the father has a remote control. If you look on his belt, he has a remote control as an anklet, and it controls Anubis. So, which comes out in another issue too. He kind of says it. So he's controlling Anubis. So Anubis isn't really bad, because I've gotten people being like, he's not good.
He's just there. He's
there.
He's doing a job.
You start to see his personality come out. Like in this issue, he's actually playing fetch with one of the abandoned hellhounds. So like this hellhound brings him a stick, and he's like, "What is this?" and throws it, and the hellhound brings it back. So Anubis is literally playing fetch with. And now in the next issue, you'll see that the hellhound just follows him along. Like Anubis just lets him follow him. And he actually starts to like care about him later, and it starts to break the spell of this, remote control. But then they start to use the hellhound against him, when they send him through a portal to get Seraphina. They're like, if you don't do what we say, we're going to destroy your pet, and all this stuff. So just because they're angels doesn't mean they're good.
Fair. Another thing I did want to ask you. So given the heavy inspiration of Resident Evil, I expected, zombies and stuff. But in that first scene in the first issue where she's going down the alley and then this hellhound's head pops out of a wall. And then when, I think it's in the second issue, when Anubis comes in, clearly you're tapping into more mythological and religious creatures than just, the T-virus. As you've already mentioned, you've done a fair bit of research on this, and clearly you're going very in-depth and breaking down and sort of having a lot of fun with these different characters, these angels. I'm assuming they're archangels, or are they just regular angels?
He's an archangel. Camiel is not. He is an archangel, but he's a higher level than Remiel. That's why if you look at their bubbles, the higher demons and angels have the speech in different colors.
Yeah.
But Camiel does not, because he's not as high end as him.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's such a cool little touch. To understand like the hierarchy of the angels, and then be able to pick out, okay, who has this, who has what.
It's also a hint to her name. Her name's Seraphina. a seraphim is one of the highest levels of angels, so it's kind of hinting of how powerful she will be later. So
I dig it. Now, remind me if I'm wrong. A seraphim, is that not one of the angels that's got like 99 eyes or whatever, and it's
their true form is the she doesn't have that, but Camiel does later on. He'll yeah, it's creepy. It's like they have this gyroscope around them with the eyes. Yeah, that's actually the angel's true forms. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yes. For the folks out there who might be Christian or at least interested in the faith, go look up a true seraphim and what they look like. They're terrifying. I mean, as they should be, right? Like this powerful, all-knowing creature is sending something to clean up a mess on Earth, and it should be scary.
Yeah, and to your point where you were talking about there's different kinds of zombies, there actually are multiple kinds of zombies. The zombies you saw in issue 2 are from hell, whereas the ones in book 3 are more virus based. But it's the creatures in book 3, like the lab creatures, they're actually created from Seraphina's and Draven's blood, but they don't know it. And there's someone in the background manipulating all of it. That's actually human, so it makes it even worse. So he's it does. Our human villain is the worst villain between heaven and hell and everything. He's the worst one, and he's manipulating both sides. So there's a lot going on. So the pawns that are using Draven as Seraphina as a pawn are actually being used as a pawn. So there's a lot of cogs in the work. That's yeah. And the father wants they say they want it to tip the scales of war to be heaven or hell, but he actually wants it for a whole other reason that comes out like way later. But he has an ulterior motive for getting it. And you'll see in this issue, Camiel says to him, because Remiel is his boss, he goes, don't you think it's odd that once I separated, isn't it odd that the prophecy said if they stay together, the prophecy is faked. So he's like, isn't it weird that it said if they're separated, war won't start? But then I separated them and war started, and Remiel was like, nope, do your job. And he's like, yes, sir. But he's starting to see like the cogs are not as they might be. So he does, he goes back and forth where he's trying to follow his boss and his job, but he was also their guardian for centuries, the two, soulmates through every life he was there. So he's the one that actually betrayed them, and he's the one that knows what happens when they're separated. So he starts to try to be like, am I supposed to be doing this? Am I not supposed to be doing this? And it's very conflicted for him, and he's not the brightest. So we'll see how that works out for him. And they never they he keeps trying to get them to trust him at one point, and they don't want to because they're always after him. So it's all this stuff. And like Anubis tries to help Seraphina at one point because he kidnaps her and takes her away from Draven because Draven's a demon too, and she doesn't know he's trying to help, so he's fighting her, and it's all this thing. But I will tell you, in series 2, he actually joins the war with them against heaven and hell. Cool. So in series 2, it's a lot of other mythologies come out. So it's Anubis and his mummies fight with Seraphina, Draven, and their other people that they catch on the way. But they also have Hecate and Hades from Greek mythology, and they have their zombies, which is very hard for my character because they've been fighting zombies this whole time, and then they have an army of zombies, and they're on their side, and they're fighting against heaven and hell that teamed up to go against them. So there's a lot of stuff that happens, and it's very interesting to see because Anubis doesn't talk, so he just kind of growls. He's kind of like, he has less words than Groot, so he's kind of like, but Hades and Hecate kind of understand him because they're both creatures of the underworld. Yeah. So that's kind of like Hecate goes to him and says, do you want to help her and help this war? And she tells him like the prophecy's fake. We have to fix this. And Hades is being lazy and he doesn't want to do it. But she's like, if you don't, then Persephone, your wife, can't come here, and it'll be too much of a mess. And he's like, damn it. So he goes and helps. So there's a lot of stuff going on and later on. So it's never ending. We're mad that the never ending story title is taken because our story just keeps going. So.
Well, I love the passion. Clearly, you've done a lot of research, so I've got more questions for you. But I guess to start out with, as mentioned, you've got a lot of different creatures from different mythologies and religions and straight fiction. So throughout the creative process for issues 3 and 4. how did you go about picking what monsters and creatures and other things you wanted involved in the story sort of early on? Because clearly you're very knowledgeable about a lot of it. But yeah, how did you know you wanted to introduce the Jackal and bring him into the sort of heaven and hell Christian mythology?
So the fact that the town was merging with hell. So Silent Hill is kind of like a ghost story because it's like a background of a ghost story. For ours, it's more of a merging of hell because the demons are taking over. So I was thinking about what creatures would be in hell, and Anubis is the god of the underworld, so he would have been in hell, or their version of the underworld. Hellhounds are in the underworld, and they're poisonous to angels too. And the angels are, his father, the demon, he controls the hellhounds. They're kind of under his control.
Draven's father.
Draven's father, Asmund, the blue demon that you see with the wings, which apparently has no clothes on. That was my artist, and I just never corrected him. But everything's blacked out that should be. But it was just so funny because I never mentioned clothes, and I was just like, "Do your own thing," and so he just never getting clothes. But whatever. So he's ruthless, but he's also funny. Like, he's very sarcastic. And he gets worse in that way because he's like, I don't know. He kind of tortures Remnal, and they have such a history. And we are eventually going to write, like, we have 5 issues in the prequel done, but we want to go all the way back to where they first met and started fighting. So eventually we're going to write that because they have such a cool history, and they're actually pretty cool characters together. And if you didn't know any better, people are like, they get along. And I was like, they're at war, but yeah, they get along better than anyone else in the story because they've been together for like centuries, and they technically have the same goal. But when it came to, so most of the characters in book 1 is 7 issues, and it's mostly the creatures from the underworld, like the skeleton coming out of the wall, and the ghosts are all there. And those specific zombies are because of their undead rising. Now we have a different version of vampires that started in issue 4, and it came out at the very end. We call them clotters. They're subspecies of vampires, just so no one says, no, vampires. There are subspecies of vampires. It always bothered me, and this is because of me. It always bothered me that the vampires you see in movies, if you cut them, they bleed, where they have no heartbeat. So how are they bleeding?
Yeah, how's it pumping blood and all that stuff?
So ours is their heart beats every 6 hours, and it's just enough to strive off rigor mortis. And so if you cut them, it's like a really disgusting clotted mess, which is even grosser. The only way to kill them, yeah, it's pretty gross. The only way to kill them is decapitation or fire. And the clotted blood actually gives them more strength because they're thicker and they have more strength and all that stuff. But the worst part, at least for my characters, they all have a hive mind, the families. So if they taste your blood, they can track you anywhere like a homing beacon. And if you kill one of them, the rest of the family comes after you for revenge and will not stop until you die, which is kind of what happens in these 3 issues. And there's more behind the scenes that's happening, and I hint at it a lot, but I don't know if anyone will catch it. But there's a lot going on that people aren't realizing in these issue 4, 5, and 6. So you find out in 7 what was kind of happening. But I hint at it. But these vampires, obviously, she gets bit. She kills one of them, and now they have to go track down every single vampire in this family. So they go on this huge hunt, and it does not go that well. But yeah, so that's kind of their hunt, and that's why the issue 6 that Ian Chase Nichols is drawing is a wraparound cover, which was his idea. He's like, "Can we do swarming vampires? Like, you do whatever you want." And he's like, "Can I do a wraparound cover where they're coming from the back?" It's like, "You do whatever you want." That sounds awesome. So that would be my first wraparound cover, so I'm very excited about that. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay, well then, so Corissa, just so the folks out there, we can give a real focused lens. So right now, the Kickstarter that is active for you, it is for issue 4, correct?
You can get 1 through 4, but yes, it's officially for 4. Yeah.
Okay. Now you've already mentioned 5, 6, 7 completing book 1. 5 is done, so it's drawn and written and good to go. When are you kickstarting that one?
June 20th.
May, June. Are you doing one every month?
Every other month. Yep.
Ooh, okay.
No one's going to be able to afford them, but. And October it's June 20th for the next one. For issue 6, I think it's either August 13th or it might be the 20th. I have to double check. And then October 3rd through the 31st, so it ends on Halloween, is issue 7 and book 1. And I have a Marvel artist that worked at Marvel for 10 years doing an issue 7 cover, and I have Ken Hunt, who worked for DC for like 10, 20 years, doing the graphic novel cover. So we're going to have a lot of cool covers for that. But yeah, the issue 1, the book 1, will be 236 pages, I think, and it's going to be huge. But it's all glossy pages. All the pages are 80-pound glossy pages. Like, they look gorgeous. And these are not short books. Most of them are 28 to 32 pages. I think the only somewhat short one is book 5 is 24, and that's a short one. But it evens out because issue 6 is 36 pages and issue 7 is like 40 pages. So they're going to be pretty big.
I mean, the irony of what you're saying, though, is a standard comic, like from Marvel, DC, Image, whatever, is 24 pages.
Yep.
So your shortest comic is a standard comic, and then you're building from there.
Yeah.
One thing I will ask, that, because clearly you're kickstarting the 4th book. I believe the first campaign was for 2 books.
So the very, 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 very first one was a different artist, and it wasn't advertised. It was just family and friends, and the artist kind of screwed me over, and I lost like $5,000 in that. And then I decided to redo it and throw away the whole $5,000 and start over again. So the last campaign was 1 through 3, but 1 was redone for my artist.
Oh, okay. So the first campaign, we'll call it issues 1, 2, and 3. Then you did issue 4, which is active now.
Active now until the 16th. Yep.
Beautiful.
And it's really easy to find too. I know you have the links. But if someone is thinking about it later on, all you do is search Worthy Chaos, and we are the only thing that pops up.
Which, perfect pick for a name, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that name.
It's a great name. Well, it's a great name because it's an interesting title. Mm-hmm. It makes you think, like, okay, Worthy Chaos, what is worthy about chaos? Chaos is typically not good.
What's the chaos?
Yeah, and it's so unique that, like you said, you're the only thing that pops up.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, how have you felt about the fan response? Because clearly you're getting really good backers.
Yeah, I have to say the fans have been very supportive. Like, I've had people write me and said, I've read it 7 times, when the next one is coming out, and then I've had, other ones saying, they just sent me a message saying more, like I need more. I was like, there's plenty more coming. So I've had, the only negative response I had was for somebody that after they said it, offered me $200 to fix it. That is literally the only, they wanted, they didn't like the thought bubbles. And they weirdly said they didn't like the flow of it, where that is everyone's favorite thing, was the flow. Like, it's fast and the dialogue's funny and everything. And I've got a lot of praise on the dialogue because they said it's not choppy. It's actually easy flowing and, they have personality. And I will say the thing that makes this story different than almost any other story you're going to read is these 2 characters were written by 2 completely different people. So all of Seraphina's actions and thoughts and words are mine, and Draven's is my co-writer's, Jessica's. So you have 2 complete personalities. So when you're reading it, they are 2 different people. And that is very unique because even if you have a co-writer, they don't usually write just one character. So when it comes to these people, you can tell in their mannerisms that they're completely different, writers. Especially Draven. She's more lighthearted, and it's so funny because you read 1, and after 10 years, my letterer was like, shouldn't they like kiss and be happy to see each other? I'm like, no. I'm like, they each thought the other one was dead. He thinks it's a nightmare, so he doesn't want to get all attached to it. She doesn't know what's going on. And then 2 seconds later, they're attacked by the entire town of ghosts. So like, they don't have time to make up or whatever. And, and I don't think they have, and I just saw it. Their first kiss is not until issue 5, and I just saw it, and I was like, I love it. But they actually get like 5 seconds before they get attacked again. They got this emotional, and a lot of people said that they don't have time to like bond or anything. And then they have this, certain amount of time in this hotel where, she was going to leave him because she was scared of him getting killed because of her. But she couldn't, and a lot of people have called it Romeo and Juliet in hell, which is very accurate. So they do have this bond that came out of like nowhere, but it's because they're soulmates. They don't remember their other lives. Each life they don't, but they're automatically attracted to each other. And they have this bond like instantly. So you have these two characters that have this instantaneous bond. But if you follow their thoughts, I mean, right before he kisses her, you could see he's like, I know what I want to do, but I'm scared to, and I'm this big, tough assassin, who has faced being tortured, and the thing killed people and tortured people. And he's terrified of this woman because he's got these feelings for her that he can't articulate. And he tries so hard, and you could see it, where he's like, just don't leave. Like he just wants to say all he can come out with is just don't leave. And she's like, okay. So you get to see this internal struggle that he deals with that is so unique to him. And she has thoughts too, but not as much as him. She's like me, just talks. She talks everything she said. The only time she's really heavily thinking is she's drawing out the vampires to try to track them. And you could see her being like, don't fight, because she's not supposed to attack them. She's supposed to act innocent. And then she slams one of them with the camera. She's like, what happened to not fighting? Like she just has this like internal struggle. But most of him, it's him, just he doesn't think he's worthy of her because he was an assassin. He did evil things. And she doesn't think that he's worthy of him because everything bad happens to her. I mean, technically her calling him that night, when her brother killed, her brother killed the parents, and she called him up, said, don't come to the house. The first thing he did was come to the house, and she went out the back window. He came in the front, and he was arrested for the murders. And everything that happened to him was because of her, and she knows it now. Like she didn't know that before. So now she has that internal burden of being like, if I never called him, he would have never had this happen. He would never become an assassin or a killer or whatever. But so you get to see that struggle with both of them, that you don't usually get to see in a comic book.
Well, that's actually one thing that I found really interesting was with everything that you set up that is not like, because we've talked, right? Like I know what's going on now, but even just with what's in the base comic, when they started getting together and they ran into each other again in the first issue and then through the second and third issue, when I'm reading it, I'm like, there's certainly strong romance style storytelling, and you can see what it's building to. But where it would have been very easy to just be like, oh, they're together, they kiss, oh my god. I so appreciated that you took the time to really flush out and explore those like weird, very stupid sometimes human emotions of like that awkward, I shouldn't, I can't, can we do this, because it made these characters that are in this way over the top, crazy horror religious story. It made them very human, right? And like, well, okay, almost none of us have been trained as assassins, and if you're watching this, I hope you haven't and had to have that lifestyle.
I'm sorry if you have.
Yeah, really. But like, it's so normal. Yeah. And
especially to not be able to express how you feel.
Yeah.
And he doesn't for a long time. Like you obviously know he loves her. He just can't get the words out. And I don't think he does until like book 3. Like he keeps saying like, I know how I feel and I want to tell her, but like, I don't like, and then something happens, something majorly happens where he's like, I should have told her. And it's a big plot thing that happens where he's like, I should have told her. And something that nobody knows until they read the prequel, she did tell him back then that she loved him, and he couldn't say it back because something interrupted it. So in her mind, he doesn't love her because he never said it back. So, and he knows that. So it actually plays out. And in the other story we have is a spinoff, which we're hoping to write. But the spinoff is a what if. Now they ran away. They were supposed to run before the issue 1 that night, which is, if you catch it, is a little hint to it. She goes, Draven, are you back? He was supposed to come back and get her, and they were supposed to run away together. And because of what happened, they couldn't. So in the spinoff, one little tiny thing happens where they do run away before the murder. So they run away, And now these two teenagers are on the run with no training as an assassin, no training as supernatural, and she's not a badass yet. She's like, she hides behind buildings. She's just a kid. And he's a scared kid, but he does it for her. Like, he tries to do it. And in our second issue of the spinoff, there is a demon that is a shapeshifter that shapeshifts into him, and when he shapeshifts into him, gets all his memories, and he really screws with her and says, "There's a reason I never said I love you," and and it's not him, but she's like, I thought you loved me, and he's like, "There's a reason I never said it back." So it kind of really messes with her. There's a lot of emotionals in the spinoff, and the spinoff is 5 books, and a lot happens. And when I first wrote it, I'm going to be completely honest with you. The reason why we wrote it is halfway through Redemption, we were so in love with our own characters. We felt guilty they lost those 10 years. So we wanted to give it back to them. So we had this spinoff.
Amazing.
So in the spinoff, they have all the same. It's like the same plot in a completely different way. And they have powers that come out sooner because they never separated. There's more angels. They do get attacked by their fathers because there is no pawn ship here. They're straight.
Yeah, it's just straight up.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes off in the spinoff. So I'm hoping to do that one because I love the spinoff too. And of course, this is a zombie island. So we had to go on an island to have zombies. Every book has zombies. Book 2 has zombies.
Yep.
Book 3 is all zombies. Book 4 has zombies on the island. And book 5, they pretty much go to hell and come back. Like, there's all these things. So there's a lot, but there's always zombies somewhere.
Very true.
I'm a zombie girl. What can I tell you?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
We are coming to the end of our hour. So, a couple things I want to make sure we recap. So, for the folks out there, again, if they've already got all the other books, what is a PDF copy of the current book? So, run them. What would the catch-up tier for everything up to date be? Mm-hmm. And yeah, we'll start there.
Yeah. So, to get 4, the PDF for 4 is only $5, and you get the black and white and the color plus the other 18 that come with the stretch goals. And they
Sorry.
and they also can, if they want to. We had a song written and sung for our characters. It's specifically written, the lyrics for our characters.
Oh wow.
And it's $5, and you get the instrumental version and the vocal version. The lyrics are on the Kickstarter. You can read them. They're down there. The video, if you watch the video on the Kickstarter, the music in the background is the music that's in from the song.
So cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. Right away, the lyrics are perfect. What didn't even need correction. I was like, that is perfect. The catch-up tier for PDFs is $15, and again, you get all the other ones. And the catch-up tier for the printed, to get a printed PDF, to get a printed issue 4, there's 3 versions. There is the regular version for $10. That's for my internal artist. There is the $15 one, which is an amazing artist, Fabio, who just did this awesome bar fight that's in the beginning of the issue. And then you have the $20 tier, which is the DC artist and the Lady Death colorist. And then the catch-up tier for 1 through 4 is $40 to get printed and shipped. And you can get the variant or any back issues you want in the add-ons. So you can get those.
Beautiful. Then you know what? I feel like a lot of your personalities come out just through what we're talking about and how passionate you are, which is great. I do like to get to ask some questions that let people know, sort of about the artist and who they are and stuff like that. In this case, you've done a really good job of doing that on your own. So I guess other than, I want to preface this question, other than your Worthy Chaos stuff, because you've got your Anubis plushie, you've got other plushies, and you're wearing your sweater. Yeah. Clearly, you've got a lot of merch for your comic, which is awesome. So other than stuff from Worthy Chaos, mm-hmm. I find often folks who create comics, write comics in any capacity, or generally are nerds, we tend to collect things. Yes. So my favorite question to ask is, what is like the centerpiece of your collection? Maybe not the most expensive, maybe not the most rare, but what's the thing that when you see it, you go, that's my thing. It makes you happy.
Anything Ghost Rider.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I collected Ghost Rider in the 90s, and it's actually what got me into comic books.
Nice.
I think I started when it was Danny Ketch, and it started issue 7. I caught on. So I stopped when I got a little bit older. I think I got to like 40, but I have all the Spirits of Vengeance. I have all the crossovers.
Wow.
I have the What If Barbara was the Ghost Rider. I have a couple of the original Johnny Blaze Ghost Riders. So anything Ghost Rider. And I just, my DC artist just sent me a large print he made of Ghost Rider, which is phenomenal. So that is like my new favorite thing. But yeah,
Cool.
anything Ghost Rider, and of course anything zombies. I have zombies. I have Shaun of the Dead autograph that I met Simon Pegg in person, and
Cool.
And Quick. I don't know if you saw him in Spaced. That it was for nerds, but if you haven't seen the show Spaced with Simon Pegg, you got to watch it. But he was playing Resident Evil 2 in it. So I sent him. I never wrote to any actor ever in my entire life, but him. I sent him obviously a copy, an extra foil card of Leon in the mail, and he sent me an autograph, personalized and in a letter. But then I saw him 10 years later in New York City, and I said, "Oh, you're not going to remember me, but I sent you something in the mail 10 years ago." He goes, "Oh, the Leon card," and I was like, "Yes!" So I was like, oh yeah. So like I could die happy now because he knew exactly what it was.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So anything zombie, Ghost Rider, love it. Yeah,
I dig it. My other last question I like to ask is, currently, Corissa, what are you reading?
I am reading like 20 indie comics that I supported, which if someone hasn't, there's 2 that I highly recommend. Path of the Pale Rider is zombies and cowboys, which you have to get. And another one is Rob Matari's Nightwolf. He wrote Nightwolf and Snowpaw, and we're actually going to do a crossover later on. His is live now. He's got 7 live, and it's up to like $15,000. Like he is like,
oh wow,
yeah. He earns every penny of it. But that stuff, and he has a plushie too. He's sending it to join with my plushie army that I have, which I have cool plushies. So next campaign we have the zombie merman, and then we have the skeleton bird from 3. So yeah. So like I said, merch queen over here.
Oh my god, that's so cool. Then you know what, Chris, we've come to the end of the interview. I always like to wrap up with the same question, which is simply, what do you want the folks out there to know?
I want everyone to know that this story is never boring. And I promise you they're all going to get made. Whether I have to sell my house to do it, they will get made. So if you ever see a background of the library, it's because I lost my house. Yeah, this story, if I was rich, I would just make it for people to read. Like, that's how badly I just want people to read it. But overall, it's really for me. I want to see it made. I want to see my characters. And I just have so much faith in the story that I know that other people would like it too. I say book 1 is great, but man, book 2 has so much going on with giant salamanders and zombies and ghosts. They're trapped in a haunted asylum and all this stuff. And then issue 3 and book 3, you have them trapped in a infested city of zombies. You have Anubis who holds up a staff and the zombies part because he controls the dead and he just walks through them, which I cannot wait. Is going to be my cover now. I decided when I was writing the script.
That's cool.
There was a lot to, unpack, and there's a lot to see, but there's also a lot going on in the background that people won't even notice until they get into it and be like, "That, I can't believe that happened," kind of thing. So I just tell people to have faith in it and they'll enjoy it. And I think there's a lot there for everybody. So yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, I absolutely agree. I can't wait to see the cover of Anubis parting the sea of the literal dead.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Glowing staff just holding up. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Oh yeah. Well, Corissa, absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me. I had a blast. You were great to talk to.
Perfect. Glad to hear it. And for the folks in YouTube land, links down below. Go now. Get the books. You get the whole series the current current issues that are out, as well as 18 other issues of comics for like how much was
it was like $5 to get 18 issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go nuts, go get it. And like, comment down below what you thought of Corissa, and subscribe for more, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Golden age to present, digest to oversize. Never miss new comic day, yeah, no surprise. So where's my no prize? Check the letter columns. Can't find issue 2? Collector problems, cliffhangers, mysteries, you need answers. When did Batman become Green Lantern? I get it, true believer, not lying. Always up for an awesome summer crossover tie-in. High flying, full color or black and white. Splash pages, flashbacks, whet your appetite. With new costumes, team-ups, first loves, first appearances.